Okay, so I'm actually quite short on time, but I really wanted to get some thoughts out. Um, but particularly, I there's not anything I specifically want to talk about. But I've been having some issues with. I don't know if motivation is the right word. Basically, I have a very good routine, uh, and I have done taken a lot of steps to make my life better than what it was. A lot of like diet stuff that I've taken care of, like just a lot of health decisions I've made, and like lifestyle choices I've made to make my life closer to what I want it to be. For example, I recently have been working on making the space where I my like in my apartment nicer, especially the studio part of it, um, specifically so that it feels more like a comfortable place for me to think in, and do work and be creative. But the issue I've been having lately is there's almost a sense of boredom, um, with my life. It, I have a lot of things that I want to do, just skills or different stuff. Like for example, I'm trying to learn to play the piano, and I'm also trying to stay in shape and do college, and I just have a lot of different pursuits that I'm going after. But it's for one thing, I'm having an issue with my focus. I feel like I'm not nearly as focused as I used to be. But the trade off I'm making with that is that when I used to be that focused, I was like putting a lot of pressure on myself to um just always be doing something, always be like working on something, to a point where it was actually detrimental for me. Like I had to change my lifestyle to be more slow paced because I was causing myself too much stress. Um, and I've had issues with that in the past. I think that's part and parcel of growing up with very high expectations. But the I guess the point I'm trying to make now is like I I feel this sense of like energy. Like man, I believe in myself and I believe in my capacity to do stuff that I want to do, and like just achieve essentially just achieve my goals. But along with that, I'm just having a lot of trouble trying to figure out what things to do and get a good routine that also isn't like detrimental to my health, which is what I had to deal with before. Um, so I'm trying to not make like reverse progress on that, uh, but still achieve like high achieve. So it's like how do I keep a slow pace where I'm not destroying my brain, but I'm also working at a high level. Um, and so one of the reasons I wanted to start recording today was because I'm I'm starting to think I've changed my ability to before I would get like stuck in a rut if I was in a position like this where it's like, okay, well, I went to work all day and I was working for hours, and then I got home and I had these kind of ambitions. The whole time I was at work I was thinking like, man, there's this when I get home, and like this thing I want to do. I want to cook a good meal and do some yoga and like record a video, maybe play some piano. But like I've gotten better with not setting myself up too high, like knowing, okay, realistically I'm probably only going to get to do some of the things. I'm not going to get to do everything, nor do I really want to. But then I get home and I'm like, okay, well, first things first, I'm going to take a little break off work. So I'll just watch a show or go on my phone. And then I end up fucking doom scrolling and being on my phone for, hours, being on YouTube or Netflix for hours. But like, the whole time I'm telling myself, okay, well, after I'm done with this, I'll get to do some of the stuff. And all the while, I have a very strict bedtime, and I know that, like, if I don't leave myself enough time, then I'm going to use the excuse, well, I don't have enough time to do those things I said I was going to do. I don't have enough time to start a video right now, because that takes a little bit to set up, and I don't want to do it if I'm only going to do it for, half an hour, whatever. So then I just get locked even further, and then I'll do, I'll start to do stuff, like I'll noodle around on the piano for about 2 minutes, and then I'll be like, oh, well, I'm kind of wasting my time here, because I'm not really going to sit down here and play for an hour and really practice. I'm just noodling around, so I'm actually wasting time, so it'd be better spent if I just didn't do it. And these are all thoughts that, your brain kind of does to trick you out of exerting itself, and that's normal. I think it has to do with, like, our brains are wired to be efficient, and so if it can convince you that the thing you're doing isn't an efficient use of your time, then, like, it's going to justify, like, it's going to very convincingly justify not doing anything. So, part of, but, the point of that is that I'm getting better now at, like, okay, well, yes, I did come home today after a long day of work and waste, like, more hours than I intended to, and now I don't have enough time to make a full video where I would normally do, where I'm really expressing. I've had a lot of stuff I want to talk about lately. I have a whole list written down of, like, topics to talk about, and that I have, like, I feel like, they're very, it puts you in the position of, like, well, what I really wanted to talk about was the other things, but I kind of wasted my time, so now I'm just saying nothing, and so it's not worth it. But I've gotten better now at, like, okay, that's pretty categorically false. Like, the point is not, the point was never to, like, make super high quality work, or, like, do meaningful, make every single thing I do meaningful, like what I was talking about with the piano, where it's like, my goal was just to get better. It wasn't like to have a perfect practice and within the confines of, like, what would be the absolute best for me to get better, or in this case, it's like, my goal wasn't, I didn't set out, my goal for the video wasn't to, like, spark debate. It was to just get my thoughts out as, like, a journaling technique. So sort of how I'm interpreting this is, like, okay, well, yes, I've wasted time, but the day's not over. I have, right now I've got 20 minutes, which is not enough to get into really stuff I wanted to get into, but it's definitely enough to speak my mind, or at least a little bit of it, And the whole point is it's supposed to be journaling, for whatever that's worth, like the aspects of journaling that are, beneficial for me, like, that are healthy for me to do. Like, so there's no, there's really no, like, I think, how I'm trying to combat my brain's tendency to, like, okay, I can't really do what you want me to do right now, so I'm just going to do nothing, is to be like, okay, what I actually want you to do is just anything. Like, I'm not asking you to be a virtuoso. I'm not asking you to write an essay right now. I'm just asking you to just do something, like, towards the positive end. Like, don't just do nothing. And not to say, like, I can't ever take a break, watch YouTube or Netflix, but, like, for me, I have a big problem with binging, and that's not gonna get any better from me just, like, not doing anything about it. It's like, almost all the changes I've made in life that have been good for me have been stuff that I've just, like, in the spur of the moment, forced myself to get into, and then force myself to make a habit of. And I don't like the word force, because so many of the changes I made are like to live my life at a slower pace, to like, the way I am is I'm very quickly passionate about something. So if I, find a new cause, like, for example, one of the things I had intended to talk about was veganism, vegetarianism, and like my thoughts on other sentient beings and our duty of care versus like our needs and wants. But I like, I'll just think about it one day, like, just one day at random, it'll just come across my mind, and then suddenly I like feel the need to do hours and hours of research and like weigh every philosophical option. I get very passionate about things very quickly. And one of the bigger lifestyle changes I made was to just say, like, okay, I understand that you're going to be passionate about this, but the pace at which you change your mind about things, or the pace at which you like implement new lifestyle choices, especially like something like veganism, where you have to like change your diet and you have to build a life kind of around that, where you're like paying attention to what you're doing with your food. It's like, yes, I understand you're passionate and you now already have a lot of new information, but like, don't go out right now to the store and buy a bunch of vegan food and throw out everything in your fridge, because all that energy is going to be wasted because you're not taking a gradual enough shift. You're not going slowly enough to let your mind and body and soul adjust to it, so it's not going to stick. So then all you really will have done is waste a bunch of food. And this is just an example. I do this with everything. Like, I'm constantly thinking about, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I was like, okay, well, right now, I had thought for the longest time, I was like, okay, I'm going to be an artist and like an animator. So, what I have to do is throw myself into my work and spend hours and hours learning everything there is to know about this thing. And then when I thought I'd do something else, like, okay, maybe I'll go be a doctor and like go study psychology, which was my, initial first passion and first career choice, is like, okay, now I suddenly have to drop everything I cared about with art and animation and go study nothing but psychology and therapy and learn everything there is to do. It was like, for one thing, it's not really practical to my life, because I'm not so efficient that like if I did find something that I was truly passionate about and was like, this has to be my life goal, this has to be what I'm doing, I'm not so efficient that like I would spend every hour of every day focusing on that thing. I'm more likely to slowly like do some art and do some animation and also slowly learn about it and take steps to go that direction, like be in college and do my work and do a good job in college. And those things are very slow pace, and if I'm not patient about that kind of a thing, I'm just restless, and then I don't do. My mind does what it did earlier, which is like, okay, well, you're not a doctor right now, you're not a famous artist or animator, which means that you're failing, which means that like you're wasting your effort, and we should just watch Netflix all day. Like it keeps finding ways to essentially like, okay, well, your life isn't what you want it to be right now, so that means you're wrong and there's nothing you can do about it. And like the point is like, by slowing my pace, I've really allowed myself to be happier with where I'm at, and like knowing that I'm going in the direction that I want. And if that direction changes, it's not going to throw my entire life off balance, because I'm talking about slow and gradual changes. And also because you don't know what is going to happen in the future. I really don't have enough time to go. This was one of the topics off my list. And I say I don't have enough time, but what I'm taking into consideration is like, after this, I want to cook a healthy meal and like get ready. It's already a little bit late, and so I'm trying to get ready for bed so that I can set myself up to have good energy tomorrow. And so it's funny because my whole point is like right now I'm really impatient and I want to talk about these topics. I got like 7 listed here. But the point I'm trying to make is that like I taught myself patience for this specific reason, which is like I'm serving myself better if I'm taking care of myself and my mental state, because then I will have more focus over a longer period of time. So I can actually make a good video when I'm in a, today I hate to say blew it. I want to give myself some grace here and say like, okay, I didn't really do anything wrong. I to be honest, I was a pretty effective day. I worked a good job. I did a good job at work. I did homework. I ate like healthy meals that I pre-planned over the weekend and like spent a lot of time on. I did do a little bit of working out today. It wasn't a bad day by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm very critical of myself, and I need to be more careful about that kind of thing, because it's like I am putting on this impression on myself where I'm like, oh man, you're really messing everything up because you're not right now. You're not like mastering the piano and also getting ripped and also you animating something, and that's I'm trying to take a slower view of my life. So it's like, yeah, I didn't do any of those things today, but overall I kept a good rhythm. I did my best, or at least I did. Yeah, you know what? No, I did my best. Like, even if I spent some time binge watching Netflix, it's like, that's because that was the best I could do. And, there's a real tension between that of like, indulgence and discipline versus like self-care. Not surprisingly, is one of the topics I wanted to talk about, was just like, how do you draw that line of hedonistic pleasure versus like just giving yourself enough time to enjoy life. So I definitely will go into it, but that's the whole point of what I'm trying to say, which is like I need to be patient, and I need to understand that like a few less than productive hours doesn't mean, one thing, it doesn't mean that I've blown it and the day was a write-off and I have to be upset, but because of that, like, the whole day doesn't have to be a write-off. What I mean by that is like, this is how I'm turning it around. I'm saying, okay, yeah, I was down, I was slumped in my chair, I couldn't get out of it. I was doom scrolling on social media. I was doing nothing, and then I'm saying, and then I got the spark to say, nope, I'm not doing this for the rest of the night. Like, I get it. I understand that I no longer have enough time to do something the huge amount of work or whatever. Like, I no longer have that kind of time to really get deep into one of my projects or deep into one of the things I'm trying to learn, but I have enough time to get my thoughts out. I have enough time to cook a meal that'll be good for me and that will set me up for tomorrow, and I have enough time to get rest and get ready for I don't even want to say more productive, just another day of good living that's in line with my values and in line with how I like my lifestyle. So that was the whole point. I'm turning the day around essentially by doing this. But more than that, I'm just showing up for myself after a few hours of not showing up for myself. I'm saying, it's okay. Yeah, it's all right. I understand that I wasted some time. It's okay. We can improve, and we don't have to be so thrown by the fact that we couldn't focus for a little while. We can take that right now. As soon as I acknowledge where I'm at right now, I can move on from that. So that was it. Thanks for listening. See ya.